This is Critical Commentary with Maurice Williams. Today we'll be discussing Trump's response to the Democrats' big election win and also more infighting in the Republican Party. Blacks, Hispanics, and whites can't read. Why you think I started a podcast? It's a fucking racist thing with you niggas, and that's why I'm coming at you niggas next. They love to talk about black violence. Have you heard of white violence? White people commit violent crime at 3 times the rate of Asians. When is Nick Fuentes going to talk about white violence? Everybody's arguing about their 2 genders. I sat next to a hermaphrodite in math class. Am I allowed to talk about the Jews? If she wanted, we could do it in the morning. Yawning, letting my eyes stretch, baby, I ain't a novice. I've been a dog, she FaceTime, but I never call. As we covered yesterday, the Democrats lost a few statewide elections. They lost in New York, which was a big city election for mayor. Mamdani won. And they also lost some governor and senator races in Georgia, New Jersey, and Virginia. So Trump, being the face of the Republican Party and MAGA still, he has shared his view on why the Republicans are losing these elections. So Trump believes that the Republicans are losing these elections because they are not doing enough to tout his economic achievements. Just like a narcissist to think that the reason others are losing is because they're not talking about him, right? But so Trump says that currently there have been a lot of economic achievements under his administration. He says that he's creating jobs, they're bringing back factory work, and he's touting his winning the tariff war with China, as America and China have recently reached the deal to get their trade moving back how it was moving before Trump put the tariffs out there. Though Trump is saying that the economy is doing well, most Americans are not feeling it because most people are not invested in the stock market, and though inflation is down, if you're not buying a home and you're not using your credit cards, you're not feeling that. But what most people are feeling is they're feeling wages aren't rising as fast as interest rates and the hourly work. So most people are still living paycheck to paycheck. Plus, the lower class, though the judges have said that food stamps will be distributed, and they are being distributed to half the recipients. That's 42 million people, so half is 20 million. 20 million people in this country are now hurting because they aren't receiving their food stamps. So if you've been paying attention, you've seen there have been lines in rural America, Appalachia, the South, as well as up north. There have been lines of people, white, black, Hispanic, etc., lined up getting help from churches and various local municipal institutions, because without that money that some people are saying they're using welfare to abuse it, majority of people are just using it to purchase food. And people have even done studies and now been reporting that actually the truth is about 80% of the food stamp money goes to things like bread, necessities, and only 20% goes to the things that people have been putting online like candy, soda, etc. And also, if you're not a American citizen, you can't get welfare. So now that it's actually come about that people aren't receiving as much money in food stamps, we're seeing the true face of welfare, and we're seeing that American citizens are hurting. In line with what Trump is doing with the Republicans have taken a few defeats. They've taken some electoral defeats. They're also taking defeats in terms of the public opinion. So Ben Shapiro, who was on Fox News, stated his opinion on why he believes that the Republicans are currently having a tough time with the youth, but also the moderate Americans.
I mean, I think that many of the things that people are seeing as sort of a bug of the Mamdani campaign, how could he be elected while saying all these anti-Semitic things? That's a feature. The progressive left, the wild progressive left that was tapped in the primaries and then spurred him to victory in the general. That progressive left is very, very fond of anti-Semitism. They're totally fine with not only anti-Israel feeling, but obviously with a candidate for mayor who said to you on the show that he obviously doesn't really care whether Hamas disarms. Like that was something that he didn't mind talking about, which is kind of an incredible thing.
You know, when you break this vote down, not just in New York City and Virginia and New Jersey as well, we see this young vote, massive young vote, supporting Democrats. And when we came out of 2024, the message was really that there was this resurgence of sort of young conservatives out there. So what's going on?
So I think what the polling is showing is that young people in particular are just unsettled. And what that means is that if they don't get what they want from one party, then they're going to swivel and they will turn and they will vote for the other party. So Joe Biden was very unpopular. The inflation had really eaten away at people's livelihoods. And so people turned in favor of President Trump.
what Ben's saying here is accurate, but he's kind of blowing off the fact that Republicans have the House, they have the Senate, they have the presidency, they have the ability to implement the agenda that they ran on and are trying said they would do. So they have done that in terms of ICE, and they have tried it with tariffs and other things, and as far as getting more investments in American business and taking power away from the government and putting it more into the entrepreneurs. The problem is these things are not working out the way that the Republicans said. So because of this, I would say it's not just young voters who are upset with the Republicans, but it's also moderates and just your middle class and lower class individuals. Now, the big beautiful bill did help out people who are wealthy. So they had their tax cuts extended for a permanent amount of time. But as I just discussed earlier in the episode, the lower class is feeling the cuts to food stamps, as well as the middle class is feeling rising prices with higher mortgage rates. Also, they're experiencing higher premiums for their healthcare. So majority of Americans are feeling the squeeze, and only a small amount of people are feeling the benefits of what the Republicans have set in place. Now, there are people who think that the Republicans are only for the rich, but I don't believe that. I believe that across the board, congressionally and in terms of like the state leaders, not at the national level, but at the local level, I believe that many of the Republican policies and many of the people running as Republicans do care about their constituents, and they're trying to find ways to help. But at the end of the day, in America, we're tied down to capitalism. We're tied down to the ugly nature of lack of bipartisanship in the government. So though Republicans have good ideas, they can't get things passed because the Senate has to have a 60-40 vote. So Ben is saying that every 4 to 8 years, you just have these swings where when Trump ran the third time, it seemed as though the young people, black people, etc., it seemed like the Republican Party was gaining. And they were, because young people didn't like what was happening under Joe Biden. They didn't like the inflation. They didn't like the mass migration. A lot was changing too fast for people. But the other side is having different problems, but still problems as well. So that's why on this show, I've been trying to say that instead of us having the same circular situation over and over where we get mad at the Democrats and the majority votes for the Democrats. Then we get mad at the Republicans and, we get mad at the Democrats and the majority vote for the Republicans. Then we get mad at the Republicans and the majority votes for the Democrats. It might be better in America for us to consider working together and finding real solutions to these problems. Obviously, when the Republicans have control, they can't fix everything. Back as far as when Obama in 2010 had the White House, they had the Senate, and they had Congress, they pushed affordable health care through, but many of the other things that the Democrats were trying to get done, they weren't able to get it done and help the American people. So I believe that if we've seen over and over and over that the two-party system doesn't work and just trying to help one group or get one agenda passed doesn't work, we need to look for new creative solutions. And I think that one way we could do this is something that I somewhat see happening, but I haven't seen it fully, and we'll probably cover it more in the show. We are starting to see people like AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who are kind of in two different camps. They're somewhat now agreeing on certain issues publicly. And I think that though they may be too far apart to create their own party, I do believe there's room in the middle with people who are more moderate, where we could come up with solutions where we share ideas instead of just fighting and saying, well, if this side says do it, we're against it. So one example I want to bring up of that before I go to the next part of the show, guys, is Obamacare. Obamacare actually is something that came from the Republicans. It's something that Mitt Romney was working on with the Heritage Foundation, who ironically finds themselves in hot water because of what we're about to cover with Nick Fuentes. But my point of bringing this up was, had the Republicans been the ones to propose the national health care for all, Republican constituents would have voted for it because the Republican politicians would have touted it as one of their achievements, like Trump tries to tout that the COVID vaccine happened so fast. So my belief is that if Obama thought that what Romney did was good and Romney was a Republican, more Democrats should state when Republicans have good ideas, and we should pass things based upon whether they're going to help the American people, not which party puts forth the ideas. Moving forward, I was talking about us working together, but currently there's a civil war between the Republicans, basically the establishment, the more moderate ones. Some call them the pro-Israeli group. They're having a spout or a beef with the more alternative right. People call them alternative right. The Elijah Schaefer's, the Nick Fuenteses. So Nick is the one currently getting most of the energy because what made this a big deal. But Myron's getting some energy too now because he was on Shrouder's show. So you guys could check out that interview. But Nick did an interview with Tucker Carlson. So then the Heritage Foundation came out and sort of said, we don't want to cancel Nick, but we think some of what he says is not good. They've now had to come out and apologize. And the leader of the Heritage Foundation, the president, is considering resigning. My belief is that someone who's against definitely against Nick Fuentes, but they're probably against anti-Semitism, made some kind of call and said they would take their donations away. So now the person who just last week said they were okay with Nick is now saying he's sorry that he said that. Ben is also someone on that side, the establishment side. So we're going to see what he says. Now, this is a clip of him on his show where he discussed anti-Semitism and Nick Fuentes and what Nick Fuentes is about.
The right to speak free of governmental coercion. I believe in it, of course. I've always defended it. Criticism of bad speech is, in fact, just a form of free speech. Cancellation also has a definition: the banning of particular people, including people like Nick Fuentes, from platforms like X or Facebook. I believe that Nick Fuentes is odious and despicable, but I've never called for his cancellation. And in fact, I've called for his restoration to those services, despite the fact that I think he's odious and despicable. It is not cancellation to draw moral lines between viewpoints. In fact, we used to call that one of the key aspects of conservatism. It is not cancellation to refuse to signal boost Hitler's supporters like Nick Fuentes. It is not cancellation to criticize Tucker Carlson for rhetorically fluffing Nick Fuentes and other anti-American crackpots. It's not cancellation if you urge others to stop promoting those who rhetorically fluff Nazi apologists. Those are all elements of free speech. And anyone who says differently is lying to you, and lying for the most cynical reasons, to misdirect from their own defense of those Nazi apologists and their promoters. The issue here isn't that Tucker Carlson had Nick Fuentes on his show last week. He has every right to do that, of course. The issue here is that Tucker Carlson decided to normalize and fluff Nick Fuentes, and that the Heritage Foundation then decided to robustly defend that performance. Those who criticize both Tucker and Heritage aren't canceling. They are quite properly drawing a moral line.
Join ICE with bonuses up to $50,000 and generous benefits. Join.ice.gov.
Local news, weather, and the alerts you choose. No paywall, no subscription fee, just
So, for those who don't understand what's going on, let's begin with Nick Fuentes. Now, as I mentioned, last week, Tucker Carlson had on Nick Fuentes. Fuentes is a 27-year-old man who's dubbed himself the leader of a movement called the Groypers. He has a large audience of alienated young white men in particular, and he's earned increased media attention over the course of the past few years, especially over the last year. Now, from Tucker Carlson's interview, you might have gathered that Fuentes has some borderline views on race, a peculiar obsession with what he calls organized Jewry, and a rather sad relationship with the female sex. But probably you came away thinking that, for the most part, Fuentes lives on the radical edge of normality. You think that if you watch the interview, because Tucker Carlson decided that it was important not only to host Fuentes, but to smooth over his views, water them down, and make them far more palatable to a normal audience. As we'll discuss in a bit, this is what Tucker Carlson does for a living. But back to Nick Fuentes. To understand just what Tucker did here, we must actually examine what Nick Fuentes says on his show, and has said for almost a decade, because he was asked precisely 0 questions about any of what you're about to see by Tucker Carlson. Nick Fuentes says women want to be raped.
Okay, guys, so before we see, I guess he's about to show clips of Nick Fuentes. I was about to say Tucker's confusing me, but as I thought in my head, I said he's more of a snake, right? So you can see that a lot of the things he's saying, at least for me, makes sense, right? You wouldn't want to support somebody who's against blacks. You wouldn't want to support somebody who's against women. You wouldn't. Ben is saying he's not for cancel culture, right? So Ben is saying he wants open debate. Ben is saying that he's not calling, because Nick has been banned from a lot of platforms. Ben is saying publicly that he's not calling for Nick to be banned, that he wants people who have these opinions to be able to spread them. But from my knowledge of Ben, and I may not know as much about him as you, the viewers, so let me know in the comments, guys, what you know about him. From my knowledge of Ben, I would say that he's one of the people behind the scenes who is putting the pressure on these platforms to not allow people to speak up if if they have something to say that's like anti-Jewish or if it's anti some group that he likes. So on the one hand, he's putting forth a strong statement that he's open to everything. But I believe just from what I think I'm about to see, I think basically what Nick has done to him is what Nick is saying is upsetting him. So he's trying to respond. And I believe that since he feels that way behind closed doors, other people in the establishment on both the left and the right, people who are big donor backers, politicians, people who own big companies, the TikToks, the Instagrams, etc. I believe that these people don't like the anti-Jewish rhetoric, and I believe that they're trying to suppress it. And I believe because of social media and the fact that they weren't paying attention, I believe that they lost the youth, and people were able to see. A lot of young people were able to get their hands on the vast amount of ideas out there. So I think young people know that there's many different views, and all we're doing now is kind of shifting through them, trying to see, well, what we believe and who we want to support. Do we want to support Israel? Do we want to support Hamas? Do we want to support the Democrats? Do we want to support the Republicans? We're learning who receives the tax benefits and why, who receives the welfare and why. I think we're open to learning what's going on and trying to find a solution for ourselves and others. And I believe these establishment people are just trying to keep the status quo. They have already got enriched from the ever-ending wars. They have already gotten rich from the healthcare premiums and the various ways that they already make money. So I think they have no incentive to help the American people. I think they just want to continue feeding their pockets. So not saying, guys, that I think that Nick Fuentes is for all people, but I do believe that he represents people being able to speak their mind, even though I disagree with him. I would not want my show canceled off YouTube. I would not want my tweets suppressed. I would not want to be kicked off TikTok if I start talking about white people, if I start talking about gay people, etc. But I'll stop rambling, guys, and we'll go into the actual clips that Tucker pulled up.
A lot of women want to be raped. And when I say raped, I mean like, that sounds bad when I say it like that. But there's like a lot of women that really want a guy to beat the shit out of them. But also they have to pretend, but part of it is they have to pretend like they don't.
Nick Fuentes says that his followers should kill, rape, and die in his name.
Raise your right hand. All right, everybody raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I will kill, rape, and die for Nicholas J. Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes says that women are whores who shouldn't be in politics.
I will continue my crusade against women in politics. Because it's always like this, and it's so ironic. Women are like, I don't like, when you say, I like, you have to affect the face. When you say to repeal the 19th Amendment, that offends me. That hurts my feelings. It's like, have you ever stopped and considered that maybe if you get offended, there's such a strong emotional reaction to political opinions you disagree with across the board? Maybe that's one of the reasons why you shouldn't be making political decisions. I'm not attacking women. I'm attacking whores. You have no problems, right? I'm attacking whores. I'm attacking sluts. Stupid, dirty bitches.
The winner of the South Pelican Chef Academy is Artie Ferguson.
Brain in the bin isn't safe unless you know what's going on inside. OP Blue lets you track conditions at...
Nick Fuentes says that Jim Crow was actually better for black people.
It was better for them too, number one, but number two, who cares? Who cares? You know, enough with the Jim Crow stuff. Who cares? Oh, they had to drink out of a different water fountain. Big fucking deal. Oh no, they had to go to a different school. Their water fountain in that famous picture was worse. Who cares? Grow up, drink out of the fucking water fountain. It's water, it's the same. You know, and, you know, even if it was bad, who cares? Who cares? It's better. It's better in general. We all agree it was better for them. It's better for us. Better in general.
Nick Fuentes says that white people are justified in being racist.
Reason that we talk about this, by the way, I know a lot of black people see this and they go, man, why are you always talking about black people, this and that? Because there just needs to be some shame here. Well, there's a few reasons. First, white people are every single bit justified in being racist. Every single bit justified, to the extent that that means going out of your way to avoid black people when you see them.
Nick Fuentes is a Hitler admirer and a Holocaust denier.
Buddy, it's Führer Friday. It is Hitler Friday. Shut up. It is Heil Hitler Friday, nigga. Heil Hitler, all my niggas Nazis. Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool. So, you know, time to grow up. We're not children anymore. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right, boys? Am I right? Let's go. He was also really fucking cool. It doesn't really sound correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make 6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there. The math doesn't quite seem to add up there. I don't think you'd result in 6 million, maybe 200 to 300,000 cookies. And I think the Red Cookie Association said something like that, probably 200 to 300,000 cookies baked, probably. And in addition, you know, in this hypothetical, I imagine that if you took aerial photographs over the kitchens, you would need to see certain smokestacks to release the smoke from baking the cookies, and the smokestacks would project certain shadows, but I guess they're not visible in the aerial photographs taken over the kitchens. Moreover, if you look at the soil texture, it's really not deep enough for mass cookie storage underground.
You know, there's millions of people without the health insurance they need. I get it. You feel like it's too pricey, a headache to deal with.
Nick Fuentes believes that the Jews start all the wars, that perfidious Jews in positions of power ought to be killed, and says the Jews are filth who have to be removed from the country.
And once again, remember who is responsible for it all: the Jews. They are responsible for every war in the world. It's not even debatable at this point. This has nothing to do with oil. This has nothing to do with democracy. This has nothing to do with liberal internationalism. We are at war with Iran because they pose a threat to Israel's hegemony. That's why we're bombing their nukes, to pave the way for regime change so Israel can dominate the region, because that makes them the most powerful they can be. There is an occult element at the high levels of society, and specifically among the Jews. So many of the people that are perpetrating the lies and the destruction on the country, they are evildoers. They are people that worship false gods. They are people that practice magic or rituals or whatever. And more than anything, those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty. Straight up. And I'm far more concerned about that than I am about even non-white people or mass migration. These people that are communing with demons and engaging in this sort of witchcraft and stuff, and these people that are suppressing the name Christ and suppressing Christianity, they must be absolutely annihilated when we take power. This is God's country. This is Jesus's country. This is not the domain of atheists or devil worshippers or perfidious Jews. This is Christ's country. Josh Hammer and Mark Levin, fuck these people. Like, deeply, seriously. All real Americans, if you are a real American, if you were born in this country, I don't even care who you are, what you are. If you are a real American that loves this country, you have generations in this country, your family or you fought for this flag, fought for the Constitution, fought for our church, fought for our civilization. For all of you, I say about Josh Hammer and Mark Levin and Laura Loomer, fuck them. Fuck them.
Okay, guys. So before I say what I think about Nick Fuentes and these clips, in Nick's defense, I used to judge Nick off the clips. So now that I've been doing the show, I've been presented with longer monologues of his, so I get to see the totality of what he's trying to say, as well as I've actually checked out longer clips from his shows, not necessarily the entire 3-hour stream, but like 30, 40 minutes of his streams. So as I've said in other episodes, besides these outrageous things that he says, which I'm about to comment on, there is some depth to them. There is some knowledge. Mostly he seems to understand foreign policy, and he's very obsessed with Jewish people. So because of this obsession, he comes across a lot of information on them. He just spins it in a negative way. But I do want to address these clips because I know people say that what he's doing sometimes is just dark humor. For one, nigga, I'm speaking to you, Nick, it's not funny. I don't think that the things that Nick says is always funny. Sometimes it can be because it's like lighthearted and it's just general jokes that people would tell one another. But sometimes he goes a bit too far. So, for example, when he was talking about raping women, I don't think that's funny at all. I get that he's trying to play on the joke that women like rough men, they like bad boys, etc. They like a strong, powerful man. Everyone knows that. But no one would go as far as to say that a woman would want to be physically assaulted or raped just because they like strong men who take control. So that joke wasn't funny. It was inappropriate. Like Ben Shapiro is saying, let Nick talk, but we have to call out this bullshit, right? He's too old and too wise to be even saying these things in a joking manner because nothing's funny about it. And some people, when they hear this type of talk, it makes them think less of women than they already do. And it may cause some people to assault women, cause some people to mishandle women, potentially even rape them because they think so little of them, they dehumanize them. Also, then he talked about his belief. I believe is that the Holocaust didn't happen. That's what I'm taking from his joke. So he's saying that there's no way 6 million Jews died. I'm not even sure 6 million Jews died, but I do know many Jews died in the Holocaust, and I know there was a big war. So to the people who did die, I think it's unfortunate and inappropriate for him to be making jokes comparing people's lives to being pizza and being put in ovens. And then also at the very last clip, he spoke about being a Christian, but he said that he believes that these people that he dislikes and he feels are traitors to America for what they're doing for Israel, he believes that they should be killed, right? So these people are human beings and they're American citizens. And I think that to be calling for them to be killed and to be saying it, I mean, maybe he's trying to joke, but I mean, there's some seriousness to what he's saying in terms of his dislike for them. Other people who are sympathetic to what he's saying potentially would act upon it. So I think that is inappropriate and should not, we should not stand for that. Also, I find it ironic, very ironic when a person says, well, I'm a Christian, but you're talking about killing people. When I read the Bible, I don't recall Jesus talking about going on any wars and causing any violence in his name. One of the main things that Christians get mad at Jewish people and Muslims about is they say, well, the Jewish people are killing people in the name of their religion because in the Old Testament, many people were killed in the name of God. And then people say that Muslims kill and go on jihads in the name of Allah, but they do it because the last prophet, Muhammad, said it was okay and right to do it. So I don't see Nick as any different from the people that the alt-right and Christian conservatives are talking about. If it were a Jewish person saying we're going to commit violence because we want our religion to be the strongest and be the main one, it would be a problem. Same thing if a Muslim said it. So I just find it ironic that Nick is saying that the Christians should take over, but they should do something violent to other people. Then I was catching kind of some of his digs. When he was talking about Jewish people, he was saying that Jewish people worship the devil. Not all Jewish people, but he was trying to, there's on the right, as I've come across anti-Semitism, I noticed some of the dog whistles and things they talk about. So some of them, I don't want to say many, but some people on the right, alt-right, say things like the Jewish star is not really the Star of David. It's the star of the synagogue of Satan, etc. So I don't know much about Jewish culture, and same thing. Well, I know some things about Christianity, but I don't feel like I know everything about all these religions because there are some people who say that Christmas is Jesus' birthday, but then other people say they picked December 25th because it was already a pagan holiday. So the reason I bring this up is to say that just like people can say things about Christianity, they can also say things about Judaism. I don't know for sure when Jesus was born, so I don't know why December 25th is definitely his birthday. I just believe that it's his birthday. So the same thing with Jewish people. You may have some Jewish people who really believe in the Star of David, whereas it's possible that some may know that it's not, and they may actually be Satan worshipers. But I just find some of the things that Nick does and says not just deplorable and outrageous, but I also just find them going too far. There were a few more things he said outside of just discussing the Jews that I wanted to touch on. Touched on the Jews. I touched on women. I want to touch on women some more because just besides him talking about raping women, I've also seen clips myself of him talking about women should stay in the kitchen, women should shut up. of course, he calls women bitches and hoes. I do that too, but when I call women bitches and hoes, it's like when I use nigga, I rarely call women bitches in a negative way. I just think men are niggas and women are bitches. You know, that's just how I talk. I believe that obviously I'm a male, and I do believe in the patriarchal type of society. I think that in America, as I've discussed, you have a certain group of men who make a lot of money. So for them, the old style will work where the man makes more money and the woman makes less money. But I think because we give everybody opportunity in America, all citizens get allowed to take tests, allowed to pursue their education and do the jobs that they want. Because of this, as I stated before, there's a group of men who actually is not as intelligent as a majority of the women, and women make more than those men. So I think that though I believe in the typical patriarchal society system where the man is the head and then the woman and the man work together to raise the children, there are many, many situations where the women make more money, where the women have more not just economic freedom, but they're the breadwinner in the family, so they may have more say in the family. I don't believe that just because the woman makes more money that the man can't still be the leader of the household. You can still provide and show leadership in other ways, whether that's going to church, whether that's doing things. When I say doing things around the house, I don't just mean cleaning. I mean doing things that a woman would typically look for a man to do, as far as helping out with the finances, the future of the family, etc., fixing things, building, just doing the things that women look to men for. Regardless of if a woman has money, they do look to men to do certain things. I believe that all men can do those things regardless of their income. And I bring this up to say that this is another point where me and Nick disagree. I think that he's always feeding into stereotypes, and I believe that when you speak bad about women, it furthers the way they're treated. So besides just rape, domestic violence is a big thing, right? So I don't know if Nick is aware of this, but 1 in 4 women are abused in some manner physically in their lifetime. So just looking at that situation, Diddy and Cassidy come to mind, but there's just been various other incidents of this with men that have come to light and some that haven't. And I believe that this rhetoric that Nick is putting out there, other men who are actually bad actors and who beat women and who are abusers, they hear this type of stuff and it just reinforces things that they already believe. So that's why I'm a person who I try to say positive things about women and put positive things out there about women. It's because I know some of the hardships that women go through, whether it's financial, whether it's in their relationships, etc. Right? So I just think that Nick has the right to say what he wants, and Nick doesn't have to be like me. He doesn't have to be out here championing women. Honestly, I get called the simp. I don't really understand why. I get called the simp for the positive things I say about women. Like if I say they look nice, if I say they're smart, if I tell them that they can, live their dreams, etc. What I really find ironic about that, though, is when people call me a simp, it's usually men. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, I'm a man, you're a man. Why would I give a fuck what you're talking about? Wouldn't I be more of a simp for bowing down and doing what you think I should do? I'm the leader, my nigga. I'm not going to change my opinion of women because of what another man says. I do listen to women when they say their views, because as me not being a woman, I don't know anything about childbirth. I don't know about many of the other medical and things that they face. So for example, I'm not pro-abortion, and I'll wrap things up, guys, because I know I started to ramble a few times this episode, but I'm personally not pro-abortion. I obviously think that at some point in the womb, the child stops being a fetus. And I don't think just magically right when they come out they become a child, right? I just, in my mind, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a woman. I just think you are who you are at some point before you come out. So my thing is that I'm not out here trying to push abortion, but I have also taken the time to listen to women and understand, for one, whenever they give birth, they could die, right? So it's as a man, none of us are gonna lose our life for giving someone else birth. So for that point, you should listen to the women when they're discussing what they're going through about childbirth. But then also there's miscarriages, there are things that happen in the womb, etc. So learning these things, I learned from women why some women may have an abortion. Now I'm not very knowledgeable about this topic, so I can't sit here and tell you with crime statistics. I know the statistics, but on this topic, I couldn't tell you guys what X amount of women are getting abortions in the first 3 weeks, right? I think that's considered early stage, and then X amount is getting abortion in the second trimester. It's good I remember trimester though. Shout out to my sister for me knowing some of these things, and my cousins. And then the third trimester, right? So it's I don't know what's all the health pros and cons are, but I do think that we should have more of like an honest conversation, and I do think that hopefully with most Americans there is a way, not just with well, this is political too, but not just like economic or ideological things or even political things. I hope there are just ways that we can talk to one another and not see each other as demons on both sides, right? You got people saying that when women have abortions they're just evil, and I think that's like a far stretch. If like you don't know a person, you don't know their situation. But then there are also people who think the Christians are evil, right? So I see both sides. Like, I don't want people to demonize those people who have strong beliefs about Christianity, right? Strong beliefs about abortion and, when the fact that you can't have an abortion, right? If you feel that way, like, I respect that. Like, I don't want to judge. I don't like judging people. So I don't think that it's wrong that there are conservatives and Christians out there who say, no, I believe life begins at conception. I respect that. And all I'm asking for from, both sides of this argument on abortion is that though we can't agree, could we at least say we respect each other as human beings? And then from just that respect, maybe we could have better conversations about what would be the acceptable time if you're even going to allow abortions, nationwide. I know now it's up to each state, but I feel like this is going to end up going to go back to the nation because you can have it because we have it now, but you shouldn't have a situation where people have to travel to get abortions, et cetera, et cetera. We probably should have like a more national rule on this. But I'm about to go in the comments, guys. I know this episode I rambled a little bit more, guys. Sorry about that. Leave comments and let me know if I did a bad job or whatever, or if you like this style, like where I just kind of say what pops in my head versus me kind of being a little bit more prepared. I will go to the comments now. We have a wide range. This is the first time I'm seeing four different ones. Okay. We have one from Stu Peters. When he said, I don't like black people. It's from Steve Parson 8112. I liked your video. Thanks, bro. I just came across Stu Peters and found your channel when looking for more about him. Okay. I agree with Stu about a lot, but have a problem with how far he and others saying similar things go in race determinism direction. Determinism direction. Efforts to silence voices like his and that of Nick Fuentes through cancellation are plain to see more now. More than ever, I consider this a stupid, short-sighted strategy. I'm in agreement. We don't need to cancel people, and it is stupid to cancel people because they're still going to be heard on other platforms, as we found out. Labeling people racist, anti-Semitic, or evil does nothing to punch holes in the arguments. Correct. So I try to I don't know what Ben's planning on doing with Nick. He has a platform. Ben Shapiro, you should debate Nick Fuentes. He has a platform. You have a platform. If he's saying bullshit, call him out on it, right? Because he's calling you out. Sorry, guys, I lost my train of thought. It doesn't go into poking holes in the argument. So what I try to do is with a person like Myron Gaines, a person like Nick Fuentes, I just try to, respond with the other argument when I disagree with them. And when I agree with them, I say. So, I dislike how Myron treats women. That's why I spoke about Isabella DeLuca, Emily Austin, and a few other girls that he consistently tags and says negative things about them, right? But there are times when Myron, I don't know if he's a Muslim or not, but there's times when he's made statements about defending Islam, right? So I've told him, I agree with that. I have noticed he's on the right, and a lot of the people on the right are Christian conservatives. So I've seen him make statements in defense of a group I would consider minorities. Most Americans are not Muslims. So most Americans don't know much about Islam. So because of that, I think that it's good that Myron, still as a conservative, takes time to call out even alt-right conservatives about the things that they're saying about Islam. I don't know as much as I could know about Islam, but I would say that they read the Bible. So my thoughts on all three of the Abrahamic religions, the Torah is first, and that's part of the Bible. Then there was one God, monotheism. Then the Christians believe Jesus came and he's the Lord and Savior, and you have to go through him to be saved. The Muslims who use the Bible don't actually believe that Jesus is God, right? They don't believe he's God in the flesh, but they do believe he's a prophet, and they believe Prophet Muhammad came after. But ironically, Muslims don't think Muhammad is going to come back and judge the world. They think Jesus is. So just because of this, the fact that all of them believe in one God, they believe in Abraham, they follow the 10 Commandments, and then in terms of the Muslims and the Christians, they believe that Jesus existed, right? And they use the Bible. I think that there's so much common ground there. Sometimes I get very confused when you have Jewish people. I understand they disagree, but I don't understand how Jewish people can be so much against Christians, or how Christians can be so much against Jewish people, or how Muslims can be so much against Christians, or how Christians can be so much against Muslims, because I feel like if all of them were to look at all of the books they're reading, they would just see so much more in common, because they're literally using, in some cases, the exact same books. There's more in common than what separates them. So I just wish that people would take the time. All of these religions, whether the Jews, I know they pray at the wall that everybody makes fun of. The Catholics, they pray, they have communion and they pray and they talk to the Pope. Not talk to the Pope, but I'm not Catholic, guys, but you guys know what I mean. And then also the Muslims pray. All of this praying everybody's doing, when we're praying, are we praying to understand others? Are we praying to find peace? Or are we just praying that the other person believes what we want believed? Because I don't think any of those religions, and I'm not Jewish, I'm not Christian, I'm not Muslim, but I don't think any of those religions are just about saying, you have to believe what I believe. I believe that all of those religions are trying to have people in general just do better for humanity. So I believe all of these religions, and you can bring Hindu into it, you can bring some of the Eastern religions into it. I believe the core of all of these religions are asking people to do good, be respectful to nature, help others, and like believe in a higher power, right? So again, my way of looking at Christianity is way different from everybody else. I totally agree. I'm not saying people got to agree with me, but I would just like to highlight, regardless of the type of religion, they all seem to be about positivity. So it's just completely ironic and ridiculous to me that all of these people who are like fundamental in their religion are fighting, talking about wars, and just talking down about other people. You would think that your religion, based upon what I know about them, would be about uplifting people. I didn't even finish this guy's comment, guys. See, I'm on a rant road today, guys. I might take issue to a small degree with some things you said, but your approach is admirable. I appreciate it, bro. Follow us on Critical Commentary Social and follow me at Maurice Williams CCTV across socials. I'd love to talk more to you, Stephen Pearson. Okay, a few more. Lily Gaddis. So she's in blackface. A few people have commented on this one. This is from Walter Cronkett. I was calling Jasmine Crockett yesterday. Don't give these stupid, ignorant, racist fucks any more time. I don't know. The algorithm might be showing this to some different people. I like the positive comments instead of the ones saying I'm low IQ. I have never heard of any of the people you mentioned except Nick Fuentes. From a white woman who hates these assholes. Hey, man, shout out to YouTube if y'all putting us in front of a wide variety of people. That's what I want. I just want everybody to talk. Some of the name calling, though, hold up, Walter. Cronkett, my ass. Nick, I do think Nick is gay. Well, I shouldn't say gay, but, I do get you making fun of him saying he's Dick Fuentes. I think he's the gay Mexican, the gay Nazi. But at least be open to like conversations. Maybe we could talk about him and not hate him. Not saying that you hate him, but I'm just kind of trying to not be, just as I was just saying we should do better. I'm trying not to be against people. I'm trying to take my own advice and be open, embracive, etc. Nick Fuentes, they're black people. This is from Ricky Tiki Taffy. You are not doing fine. Not at all. This is about black people, this comment. We know you hate us. We are going to act according. Whoever you are, I assure you, I live in New Orleans. It's 60% black. It used to be 70% black. Black people do not hate white people. We do make jokes about white people. Sometimes they're funny. Sometimes they're not, right? I do understand the camaraderie that can come from telling jokes with people, but in private, I do tell black people often. Sometimes we go too far with the jokes. We demonize whites too much, and we're not fair to them because we are seen as the victims, which I'm not. Because people see blacks as victims, they're allowed to say anything and nobody wants to tell them nothing in fear of being called racist, whereas white people always have to walk on pins and needles because any little thing they say might be considered racist and they might get fired, etc. So I just think that humans are smarter than everybody's giving people credit. Just how I am with Nick. He tells jokes. Sometimes they're funny, right? The only problem comes about when you can see when it turns from jokes to being like, oh, you're not saying too many positive things about black people. It's always negative, right? How often have we heard Nick go on rants in a positive way about black people? How often have we heard him go on rants negative about Jewish people, right? And I've actually heard him say positive things about Jewish people in terms of innovation, etc. But when he does that, he starts to claim that the Jews are from Europe and he starts to talk about their white ties, right? So I really follow and pay attention to this guy, Nick. yes, he'll say something positive about a Jew, but then he'll tie it to whiteness because I think his narrative for the most part is just trying to push pro-whiteness as superiority. Pro-white, fine. Pro-black, fine. White supremacists, fuck you. Black supremacists, fuck you, right? So on both sides of that argument, and I say the same thing towards Asians and Hispanics, we should all be proud of who we are, but that does not mean that who we are is better than anyone else. I'll give you guys one more comment because I've been going for a minute, guys. This one, shocking EBT map. Where America's food stamps are. So I covered where America's food stamps are. They're throughout America across racial groups. This is from Jailer Mink 2020. Y'all need to ignore these people. They end up getting endorsements, etc. Oh, my bad. Wrong tweet. Sorry, guys. That was for Lily. So actually, I'll read this Lily one instead of that one. This is from Jailer Mink 2020. Y'all need to ignore these people. They end up getting endorsements, etc. Stop giving them attention. Not to mention, it's probably a black man egging her on. I agree with that to some extent. I don't mind people getting endorsements, like if they're entertaining. I think Nick is somewhat entertaining, but I think he should change his rhetoric before he gets sponsors because I think it's dangerous. I think people should have free speech. If you don't want to give them any attention, that's fine. But I don't mind letting them speak. So the things that I do like about Lily is just her saying what I know other people are saying. I'm not giving her attention because I want people to agree with her. I'm giving her attention because I think the proper way to deal with this situation is to not ignore it, to not pretend it doesn't exist, but to really poke holes in some of the things she's saying. And just in her defense, as I close the show, what she said, and maybe one day I'll play the clip, she was like cooking and she was talking about her and her friends. And she said, my friends don't date broke niggas. She's a white person, and I don't even think when she said, my friends don't date broke niggas, she meant black people, right? So I can't see why this would cause black people or anyone a problem if a white person is saying she doesn't date broke white people. I understand people still have an issue with white people saying nigga, I don't, but I just think it was clearly obvious that at that time she wasn't talking about blacks. Now she says nigger, wears blackface and throws all kind of insults to people and hits on a lot of stereotypes. But again, guys, I don't even know if she was really like that. She might have just did that because she lost her job. But yeah, you guys, if you like this episode, if you want to check out more content, please go through our page and subscribe and share it. See you guys tomorrow. Peace. If you like this video, please smash the like button, comment, and subscribe. New shows airing Monday through Thursday.